The story unfolds in a time of fierce war, with many armies marching into battle. In this harsh land, only the toughest ones decided what was right and what was true. This land was called Mirram territory, and the soil beneath was red as fresh blood. But among them stood a man so powerful in the art of fighting that the whole world bowed down to him. There was a man named Ashura, and his muscles were as big as a mountain. From atop his horse, a general shouts at Azora, calling her insane for riding alone. The general warns that even his great strength cannot stop an army of 100,000. So our hero turns around to ask him about that huge force. He just laughs, saying those tiny numbers have nothing to do with him. He also insists that since they play with numbers, they will never be able to beat him. The general stares in shock, muttering that his arrogance knows no bounds. The old general, fed up with waiting, orders his men to drag him down. Even though he looked alone and unarmed, his power was so immense that a single hit could wipe out everything, leaving even the era's greatest masters unable to stand against the man known as the strongest in the world. After uniting the world under the Ashura kingdom, the story moves to Muin, his new capital, where a mysterious glowing cave waits high on a remote mountain. Inside, a handful of people bowed to the warrior to celebrate his great victory. A woman named Bo claims he has finally united everything, so there is nothing left to fear, but the protagonist cuts through the flattery by demanding to know why he was summoned, only for Mo to casually dismiss even the title of martial god as beneath his status as the acclaimed king of fists. She wanted to give him a secret manual to match his own impressive reputation. The woman says that only Lord Ashura can hold the power hidden in the book. The mighty warrior reaches for the hidden book, but the moment he opens it, strange bubbles start forming and the pages move on their own. Suddenly, chains fly out from the artifact and wrap around the hero, holding him fast. Heavy chains lock his arms and legs, leaving him frozen with no way to move or fight back. Our hero freezes in shock, stunned by the cruel betrayal he just faced. Even with magic chains holding him tight, he shows not a shred of fear as Moel declares her rule over the Ashura kingdom is now absolute. But the warrior just keeps staring at her with a serious face, completely unfazed. She tells him to give up and accept whatever happens to him. But Ashura begins to break free, wondering if she has forgotten who he is. He yells that he is heaven's own command and the very force of destruction. Seeing this, Mole loses hope and screams for them to open the barrier to the endless abyss. Before anything else could happen, our hero jumps forward and hits her right in the face. His hand is dripping with her red fluid after that hard hit. Looking into his eyes, all we see is pure hate and a desperate desire to end everything. Suddenly, the hero is swallowed by a rising tide of red power. Our hero screams in agony as the strange energy tears him apart. Then, a huge red blast explodes and swallows everything nearby. Finally, Mo looks at his own face staring back from a puddle of the red liquid on the floor. Mo and her followers watch the magic circle that once sealed our hero's fate. Right away, they all drop to their knees to cheer for their new queen and celebrate her win. Next, the crowd cheers Mo Wool as the new queen of the old Ashura kingdom. And so, the life of the great king of fists, who once ruled the world, came to a lonely and empty end. Out of nowhere, the screen popped up asking if he wanted to join the game. Yet, the question about the strange systems remains unanswered. Suddenly, the screen flashes and begs the player to slam their finger on the accept button. But instead of taking it, a fist punches right through the screen and breaks the system apart. The scene shifts to a young man, baffled by what just occurred, feeling a dark and dangerous power while a tiny fairy perches on his head. The tiny fairy screams at Yuta to watch out because a red dragon has popped up right behind him. Our brave new hero flashes out his blade and leaps at the towering red beast. The hits knock him back, but he plants his feet to stay standing. But the creature doesn't even flinch. It just opens its mouth to spew fire. The screen flashes that Hell's Breath is about to be unleashed and will take 2 seconds to finish. Our new hero, Yuta, is on high alert as he sees what's coming his way. Suddenly, the dragon blasts him with a huge burst of fire. Suddenly, a scream tells him the attack hits everyone nearby and can deal up to 6,000 damage. Even so, the young man does not retreat but stands ready to cut through the fire blast with his sword. His clever mind, known as Cumber Strategy, starts to figure out how the monster fights. Right after Yuta finishes analyzing, he jumps into action to strike back. His skill boosts his fire resistance by 150% for just over a minute. With this power, he pushes back the attack, leaps at the dragon, and from the sky, summons a giant holy sword to land the final blow. The system tells him he has 9 more uses left for this skill. A blade of pure light falls and hits the big red dragon right on its head. The hit is so hard it snaps the monster's head and kills it right there. Soon after, the mission was marked complete, proving he had finally defeated the boss of floor 998. Finally, the big mission shows up, telling him to climb to the tower's peak and finish the conquest. After the fight, Yuta lets out a long breath of relief and whispers to himself that he just escaped a very dangerous situation. Feeling the heavy air, the tiny fairy asks our hero if something is bothering him. She tells him that with only the tower's peak left, they're finally close enough to beat the game. Her eyes lit up as she urged them to clear it fast so they could be back home with their families. The protagonist nodded with a small smile, saying that was exactly what they had to do. Even though time has passed, he still feels wrong inside after 3 years since he got there. He wonders what's waiting up at the top of the tower. The fairy sees her friend is nervous and shouts to him, a bit worried. But Yuta shakes off his worry, reminds himself not to overthink it, and since he has come so far, he opens the big door to tell the fairy it's safe to go inside. He is convinced that no monster, no matter how fierce, can ever be stronger than him. Just then, he bumped into a total stranger he never expected to see. A dark flame suddenly appeared before him, glowing with a powerful presence. It turns out to be Azora, the old king, who looks completely lost. He shouts at the strangers. Yuta thinks he's a ghost. The fairy screams Azora is a gorilla, and Yuta is completely confused. Yuta starts to think this man might be the big bad boss at the top of the tower. Azura looks around in a panic, wondering where he is and blaming Emma Wall for dumping him here. Yuta freezes in shock as the beast she feared speaks, proving it is far smarter than she thought. Regardless, he gets ready, knowing he can't let his guard down against the final boss. He makes up his mind to finish this right now and rushes forward with all his might, leaving Azure totally shocked as he sees the boy flying straight at him. Without even thinking twice, the young warrior charges forward with his glowing sword drawn. The attack strikes right on target, sending up a huge cloud of smoke. Right away, he springs to his feet, getting ready to use his best trick to win the fight. He swings his holy sword to call down the mighty heavenly judgment. The system warns that he has only 8 uses of his ultimate skill left. The young hero feels confident, telling everyone the boss is much weaker than he imagined. Azura snaps at the boy for being a brat, yet she effortlessly grabs the huge sword with just one hand. Yuta is stunned to see his powerful move blocked by just one hand, so he backs away in fear, thinking a final boss is always unbeatable, while Ashura casually deflects the strike and his special skill starts scanning for a weakness, already at 78% complete. Once he finishes thinking, his skills automatically find the weak spot and strike one after another. There's an 87% chance the plan works, proving it's a sharp move. But Azure shows no fear of the blade gripping it tighter, standing calm while he tells the young warrior he isn't playing around. Suddenly, a strange error screen popped up, leaving the hero surprised by the unexpected message. The screen flashed a warning. A critical error had happened, and Asher's overwhelming power had made success almost impossible. Yuta is horrified to see his slim 0.43% chance of winning, a stark drop from the absurd 43% before, making victory seem almost impossible for the first time in his life. A terrifying aura appears behind Azora, making Yuta wonder who he really is. Even so, Azora sneers at the kid and tells him not to be so afraid of him. He declares he won't fight anyone unworthy, and Yuta realizes how powerful he truly is. Yuta can't understand why Ashur says it's not worth fighting, so Ashur shows him that with Yuta's current skills, even just throwing a punch would waste his energy. Azure turns away from him and presses him about what this place really is. A knowing smirk spreads across Yuta's face as he finally gets why his moves failed. He finally understood that the damage kept happening because the whole fight was just testing his strength from the start. So the young warrior must show he is truly strong if he wants to cause any harm. He promises that if this happens, he will prove just how good he is to his rival. Not long after showing his special gift, the chosen hero finally wakes up. With this, every one of his stats is pushed to the very limit for a while. He yells for Ashur to get a closer look because this is the farthest the system can let him go. The hero sprints forward with every bit of strength he has left and hits the old king hard. His screen told the story of a warrior who had reached level 99 and pushed every single dot to its absolute limit. Azura stared at the screen, wondering how anyone could possibly have 999 points for strength and agility. He then asks how Yuta dares to talk about strength when his numbers are so pathetic. He finds this crazy fixation on blue windows and numbers truly repulsive. Ashur declares that the location no longer matters, as he is ready to rebuild the young hero's broken mind from the ground up. Yuta lets out a desperate scream as he fights with everything he has, only to find Ashura standing tall before him, proving that even the strongest knight title is no match for this moment. The scene shows the title of the series' max-level hero. Suddenly, Azure goes wild with the Fist King style and throws everything he has at the protagonist. The young man lets out a cry of pain and hopelessness as his own power crushes him. The hit is so powerful that Yuta's status window starts to crack like glass. Suddenly, an error screen pops up and leaves Yuta standing there, completely shocked. The screen flashes a warning that the system is badly hurt and teetering on the edge of breaking apart. Our hero gets flung out of the tower, screaming that this just can't be real. The whole system starts to fall apart and can't save all the important information before it's lost forever. Suddenly, a warning screen flashes, telling them the system is powering down. Asher then asks if he saw that, noting that true strength can't be counted with numbers. He shouts that this boring game with numbers is over for the kid. Yuta lies stunned on the ground, helpless and back at level 1, as he apologizes for ruining everything. The story jumps back 3 years to when our hero climbed a mysterious tower with a group of friends, but sadly, he was the only one who made it out alive. Looking back at the past, he turns to his fairy friend Nova and asks if they can really go home again. He feels weird climbing the tower in the dark, with no idea what might hurt him and no promise that he'll even make it out alive. His fairy nods, warning them that going back to their own world might not even be possible. Even so, she insists that the goddess Yeshua told her every single thing in that tower has a reason to be there. Because of that, she knows Yuta's journey will mean something truly special to him. Back in the present, Azura declares the endless number game is finally over, but our hero lies on the ground, frantically trying to open his status window with no success. He also tries opening his inventory and quest log, but everything has just disappeared. He then yells for the system to restart, shocked that it could actually happen. Azura sneers at him, mocking his inability to break free from his endless game of numbers. He then promises those gross blue windows will never show up in front of him again. The protagonist is totally broken and crawls on the ground, begging to be spared. But Azure says he won't waste his time finishing off anyone who isn't worth fighting. Asher grabs the young man and demands to know what this place is, while also asking how to get back to his own world, only for Yuta to realize that the man standing before him is also a player, just like her. Even so, he admits he has no idea how to get back to his own world. Asher doesn't get it, so he asks what Asher means by final stage and clearing. Our hero can't help but wonder if this guy just stepped straight out of the Middle Ages. He looks for simple words to make his point clear. He says that, simply put, the old king only needs to knock the whole tower down. He makes it clear that the tower needs to be emptied from the bottom all the way to the very top. If Year 2 is playing as well, he should take his time starting out on the quests. Azura snaps and threatens to level the tower immediately, while our panicked hero insists that destroying the tower doesn't mean they have to leave. The former king ignores him and slams his fist down with such force that the whole tower begins to crumble. Yo stands frozen in shock, completely baffled by what he just witnessed. Our hero collapses in despair, screaming out in panic as he wonders why he is bringing the tower down. The arrow screen flashes a warning. An unknown force has just torn the tower apart. The whole tower starts to fall apart into pieces right away. As he tumbles down, the hero screams in panic, trying to figure out who that guy is. He still can't believe someone could smash the tower with just their bare hands, but suddenly his fairy Nova appears and calls out to him while he is still falling. The young man jumps when his long-lost friend finally walks into the room. She catches him just before he hits the ground, apologizes for the delay while fetching his sword, then warns him that something terrible is coming. The protagonist didn't understand, wondering what could possibly be worse than the mess they were already in. They drift through a silent emptiness where broken code and strange glitches keep crashing around them. Shortly after, a new error screen pops up, warning that someone is trying to get in without permission. A dark portal bursts open and begins swallowing up the towers and debris. In the end, a final screen warns that every trace of the tower's data is about to vanish forever. Our hero freezes in terror, staring wide-eyed at the dark portal and wondering what waits inside. He watches as the tower's rubble gets pulled down into the hole. He knows that if they get caught, things are going to turn ugly. All of a sudden, a warning screen flashes up to say the recycling bin is full and needs emptying. It means any data that wasn't deleted will get pushed out of the portal. Suddenly, Azure is hurled from the hole and wrapped in a swirl of purple energy. He looks a bit puzzled by what just went down. He also felt like he stepped on something, but he wasn't sure if it was just in his head. The ex-king asks why nothing changed after he brought down the tower. Our hero snaps and shouts, "That wasn't the point of breaking the tower," while demanding to know if Ajora is just going to keep destroying everything in his way. The hero jumps forward to strike, only to be blasted back by a purple surge that knocks him hard and leaves him dazed, while Azure sighs, realizing the long-awaited successor never showed up. A strange woman shows up, and he shouts that she is an unwelcome visitor. Azura bursts into a rage when he spots the woman who betrayed him, screaming her name as she coldly asks if he is the arrogant fool who tore down her tower. Hating her, the old king clenched his teeth and lunged forward, screaming how she could hurt him, only for her to slap him into the dirt with a simple wave of her hand. The force was so powerful it blasted a massive hole right under their feet. The protagonist screams at the old man in shock at what he sees. The woman steps closer and asks if he didn't hear her the first time. She glares at him and asks him again if he is the man who tore the tower down. She couldn't believe her hero had stopped that monster in a heartbeat. He suspects this woman is the goddess Yeshua his fairy mentioned, and Ashur rises from the ground, finally understanding what is happening. He realizes she is different from the wall he knew because she doesn't use that strange power. He knows it was her because of the way she talks that she built this terrible tower. He grinned with pure hate and asked if the horrible number game was her idea. She nods and says it's just what he guessed all along. She confessed that both the wretched tower and the numbers game were her own creations. The old king shouts at her to hurry back and take him home to his kingdom. The goddess just grins, like she's having a blast with the whole thing. Then she begins to laugh, saying he is a truly funny guy. The woman demands to know who spread that crazy tale about returning home by smashing the tower. She tells him to go ahead and smash her towers and windows if he wants, promising to send him back to his own world if he destroys everything, though she warns it won't be easy while quietly restoring all the data she just lost. A screen flashes a warning that fake players are being created. Our hero trembles in fear at the strange purple glow, not knowing what it is. He then watches his old friends who fell into the tower rise back to life. The goddess warns him that many towers remain to be destroyed, and as a new world opens up revealing them stretching endlessly, he erupts with golden fury, charging forward to slash through her with his sword and reveal that she is merely trash to the dark version of himself. The main character stands frozen in shock as an old friend calls out to him. His friend stares blankly and says they must climb the tower together. The goddess told him that his strength is pointless because the world's balance is safe and won't break. Yuta roared in fury, believing his friends were truly gone. He insists that those people gambled their very lives to scale that cursed tower alongside him. Enraged, he demands to know if that's why she treated them so badly and dragged them here. The goddess summons a glowing blade of pure energy to shield herself from the young man's strike. She coldly admits they were just pawns in her perfect world, which is still too unstable to survive without their power. So she tricked them into climbing her tower through fake quests before realizing he was useless now and, with a wicked grin, declares it's time for him to vanish as he weeps, blaming himself for all the tragedy. He wishes with all his heart he had never climbed that awful tower. If only he were a little stronger or wiser, he could have defeated the woman. But suddenly a hand appears at high speed to change the battle's course, leaving the goddess shocked as she realizes she is about to be hit by Ashura's massive shock wave while the woman turns around, confused by what just happened. Ashura tells the brat that he just made a quick mistake judging him. He then asks how he dares touch his prey before he could. Even so, Ashura praises his bravery but warns that he is still too inexperienced. He lunges forward, shouting that he's the only one who will bring her down. He punches the goddess hard and sends her crashing to the ground, showing no mercy at all. With a big grin on his face, he shouts that he will be the one to finish her. The goddess cheered on the hero for holding such huge strength without needing the system's help. But she promises she won't let that power run wild. Azora is shocked by the strange energy glowing from the woman, then hugs him and tells him to go out and take down every tower in the world, promising to wait for him at the very top of this strange place. Then the goddess vanishes, and the former king is left kneeling on the ground. The view shifts to Mo Wall, who challenges someone to take over every nation in the world. Ashur stares back and forth, convinced that the two look so much alike it feels like a trick. He looks at Mo and wonders why she sent him to a place like this. Suddenly, one of Yuta's old friends lunges forward to strike him down. Our hero slashes with his sword. Then, stunned by what he sees, he cries out his friend's name, begging them to recognize him. But his fairy says there's no hope, for it's just a reflex born of memory, and our hero freezes right before his friend's attack strikes. But Ashur steps in and knocks Yuta's friend across the face. The old king shakes his head, saying he has no time to waste fighting over such small things. He turns to Yuta and urges him to rush and lead the way to the towers. But our hero says he can't leave because those people are his friends. Ashura wonders if those things really are meant to be companions. To him, they are just angry ghosts from the past. He asks Yuta to hang out with the ghosts while he goes on his own. The hero's friends suddenly spring forward to strike down the old king. But Ashur slips past them all with ease and strikes back right away. He calls them wretched pests and wonders how they dare get in his way. The ex-king shouts he's in a rush and vows to blast them all at once. He charges in with the Fist King style, ready to strike with all his might, but his body suddenly freezes, leaving him unable to move a single muscle. He notices he has no energy left inside him, but instead of getting scared, he laughs because he finds it brave of them to try testing him. He shouts that nothing can stop him, so he charges forward without any special fighting skills, loudly declaring that he is the strongest. He gets ready to stretch his legs again for the first time in ages. With one powerful hit, he sends all the fake players flying, and our hero is shocked to find he has truly met a monster. But then he spots something weird going on with the fake players. Even though the old man fights with great skill, his enemies are slowly coming back to life. If the fight doesn't end soon, he'll soon get too tired to keep going. The protagonist realizes he must find a way to help him. But his fair voice begs him to calm down, for his body is too weak to fight. She warns that without his stats, he'll crumble before the holy sword and die. Our hero says he knows what's right, but he can't just stand there and do nothing. A former friend shouts for them to climb the tower together, but he ignores the fairy's warnings and rushes to fight the fake players. If he doesn't do this, he'll never be able to avenge his fallen friends. No matter what comes his way, he will hunt down the woman who hurt them. Yuta yells at the old man and rushes at the enemies to lend him a hand. He screams at Ashura to keep the enemies' focus and not to dodge. The old king didn't get why the brat was giving him orders, but he was clearly irritated by it. Even so, he lands a mighty hit that makes every enemy turn their heads. Our hero notices everyone is attacking the old man and gets ready for action. He grabs his chance and leaps to attack the fake players, while his old friends just stare back with dead, empty eyes. Tears streaming down his face, the hero apologizes to his friends and promises to carry their vengeance, no matter the cost. He then raises his holy sword to call down the mighty power of heaven's judgment. A massive burst of light explodes and wipes out all the fake players. Azure stares in shock at how that rude kid's attack could be so powerful, then walks over to admit that our hero is actually quite useful. The hero tells the old man that the one who finally defeats the woman won't be him, but the hero himself, before the hero suddenly collapses and is caught by the former king. Ashur bursts out laughing and mocks the kid for daring to give him orders twice. He promises to give a reward to anyone who can make him laugh like that. If he ever grows strong enough to beat her, Azura will let him fight the woman, and the old king says he will wait for that day with great excitement. Over in the deep woods, a heavy boot sits alone on a rock. That boot is from a warrior who wears a deer skull on his head. Deep inside the skull, an eye pulses with pink light and dark energy, while far away in a waterfall canyon, someone sits in quiet meditation. Azora sits in quiet meditation, slowly gathering the strength he has been missing. He opens his eyes and focuses all his attention on his own body. The roaring waterfall crashes down with all its might, but it can't even budge him. He suddenly notices that he can't feel a single spark of energy inside himself. He smiled, amused that the bold goddess had sealed his desire in such a daring way. Since there's nothing left to do, he admits he has no other choice but to move forward. He walks up to Yuta and gives him a hard kick in the belly to wake him up. The kick slammed our hero hard against the stone wall. Ajura spins around and begins the walk toward the waterfall. The protagonist stands up and calls the former king a muscle-bound gorilla. Ashur warns that she hasn't learned her lesson yet and he's too busy to waste time playing, needing to smash those towers instead of searching for the woman our hero insists on finding first. The old king grew angry and called him a complete fool for not getting it. He says she must be hiding in one of the towers, so he plans to smash every single tower in the world until he finds her and takes his revenge. Our hero can't believe this guy is so crazy. His fairy tells him she thinks that man is too dangerous for them to handle. In the end, he smashed his status window because keeping them together could cause a disaster. Ashur snaps in a rage and demands to know what those brats are whispering. He tells me he's not sticking with them because he enjoys them, but because they get the job done. Finally, he wonders if Yuta wants the woman too, but they are far too weak to make it happen. That is why, from now on, he will instantly build their strength as we walk into a tower with very strange designs. Our hero and his fairy arrive at their destination, and Ashura wonders if one of those cursed towers the woman made is standing there. He praises his servant for growing so much in a few days, saying her new body might help him a little, and she thanks him as master for his lessons. He told her she's talented and said that if they had more time, he would teach her how to train her energy. The old king looks around impatiently, wondering when that troublemaker will finally show up. To him, moving slower than just a simple servant is truly pathetic. Then our hero crawls toward us, shouting that he's almost there. He calls them both lunatics, complaining that he can't run while carrying a log. He also gets it now, seeing why his fairy Nova has changed so much and turned so muscular. Finally, he collapses from sheer exhaustion, letting Ashura call him a pathetic brat while noting that this tower is even more grotesque than the last one he smashed. His student wonders if they should go inside, but she can't find any door, while the ex-king just laughs and says they don't need one since he plans to tear this terrible tower down right now. His disciple urges him to smash the tower with one strike, but the hero is desperate and begs them to think again. Azure pretends not to see him and rushes toward the tower to blow it up. Then, out of nowhere, a scary error screen pops up shouting that something very serious has gone wrong. A swirl of purple energy wraps around them and draws them deep into the tower. A screen tells them they're being forced into the tower, and our hero yells that the old man is insane for ignoring the danger, as the view changes to a ruined modern city. A purple flash from the sky knocks everyone down. Asher stands up confused by the ugly buildings, and our hero rises too, asking where he is before realizing he might be back home, until his fairy points out a terrible sight. Dead players lying scattered on the street. Then he finally understands that this isn't the world he used to know. Suddenly, a mysterious voice calls out, and in the blink of an eye, the departed players' souls are pulled in. Azure watches in shock as one person swallows all the souls around them. He wonders if the departed souls are gathering together while a voice floats above the players, calling it interesting and questioning if they are newly summoned, only for the man to tell them not to resist because Azure glares and says he is the only one who can reach the tower's peak. With a wave of his hand, the man calls forth purple energy and gets ready for what comes next. Finally, he reveals himself as the Spectre King and summons a giant skeleton that leaves our protagonist in shock, declaring, "This is on a whole different level," while the skeleton's skull glows as it prepares to strike. Yuta screams at the old man to move aside because it is too dangerous. Azure dismisses his words, declaring that even this humble monster is no threat, so he rushes ahead and smashes the skeleton with a mighty punch. The hit is so hard it knocks a giant crater into the ground. The former king sneered at the skeleton, calling it nothing but a pathetic pile of trash. He calls it arrogant and silly for the Spectre King to claim he is the best at this level. He then yells at him, calling him a coward for hiding behind his monsters. The Spectre King flew into a rage and demanded to know if he was just being shielded by monsters. He claims Azura is the funniest person he has ever met. Finally, he admits he's changed his mind and decides to put him to the test to see just how long he can hold on.